And want me to go back on the boat, that was definitely a no. But ever since I got a call from the cruise ship offering a new contract, I've been thinking about it.
You know what the most maddest thing is with this dude, right? When is he going to mature? When is he going to recognize his responsibilities? When is he going to recognize what he needs to prioritize in life? That's the first thing that I want to say.
Back to the boat, I'll be gone for 8 months. I'm going to be apart from Jess. I'm going to be apart from David. I'm going to be apart from the boys. It's like
the fact that he knows that if he goes on this cruise ship, he's going to be away for 8 months. Okay, so that's only 4 months in the year he's going to see his kids, if that. But the rest of the 8 months, he's completely gone. How does that make sense to him? I mean, listen, let's also just mention the most obvious thing ever. One of the issues that they had was the long distance. This woman has paid for God knows how many documents, God knows how much money to get this man a visa to be in the United States. And not only will she have paid for that, and now I'm not saying that he didn't put money forward to it as well. He probably did because he was working, you see what I'm saying? But I think from her perspective, she's had to put in a certain amount of money to help him get to the States, but then also still have enough money to look after her boys. And also have enough money to look after their kid together as well. So this guy wants to now just jet off for 8 months after all that hard work that she's put in, as well as the hard work that he's put in as well, for them to finally be together in the same home. And also, let's not forget, the pregnancy is pretty much what made their relationship become concrete. Because many of us have argued that without the pregnancy, these two may not have been together. But he decided to step up. He decided to say he wants to be there, he wants to be with her. So how is that mentality of wanting to step up to your father, wanting to be there as a father, wanting to be there as a husband, wanting to be there as a stepfather, how has that just gone over his head the second that he's arrived in the United States? Because that was legit what he said he wanted to sign up for. But you know, some people start to think about themselves just because they miss work. Is it the work he misses, or is it the attention that he misses?
when you work on the cruise ship, the energy you feel there is amazing because everybody's just up to having fun. There's no stress. It's just such an amazing feeling.
So is this him saying that he doesn't like the stress of being a father? You know, is this him saying that he doesn't like the stress of having to, you know, wait for Jessica whenever she goes to work and he has to be there with the kids? Is this him saying that he doesn't like the fact that he doesn't have the freedom to just leave the house when he wants to go and do what he wants because he's now got responsibilities that don't involve just him?
And yeah, that makes me feel like alive. Labor jobs.
Or other jobs.
They're like really hard and tough jobs.
Or bartending jobs.
I like the way he's waffling about, you know, what he's trying to get to with the whole job, but she's saying to him, yeah, but you got this job, you got this job, you got that job. And to make it worse, you haven't even tried these other jobs, but yet you're saying you don't want this job because you want to go back on a cruise ship.
How do you know you haven't done it yet?
Well, there's a chance to go make money, and I just wanted to talk to you.
Talk to her while she was drunk. Talk about picking your timing, right?
You can make money at a different job.
I know. I love my job too.
Yeah. I don't want that life. We've done that life for 4 years, and I don't think it's fair to your son to have that life. In 2 months.
And that should be the only thing that he cares about. Well, apart from also it's not fair for him and his relationship, but his son is meant to be the key part of this.
With you every year, so by the time he's 10, he's spent maybe a year with you. Not fair to him. So if you want to look for a job in the US, we can be with your family. If you don't want to look for a job and you want to go on the cruise, then don't.
To be fair, she calculated that if you spend 8 months, if you're 8 months away, apparently she said you've only got 2 months with your kid. So therefore in 10 years time, you've only spent 1 year with him. Her math was definitely off because it's before months, to be fair. But anyway, it doesn't really change that much regardless. Either way, though, it shows that you've not been there throughout the birth of your child. Now listen, some situations change. Like I said before, if it was a case where he was going to do work that was providing for the family in general, and she wasn't working, she was going to be at home, being a stay-at-home mom because that's what she wanted to do, different conversation. But this isn't the case. He even said that I want to go and get a job to, you know, I want to do the cruise things, so I have money to provide and be there for you, whatever. She said to him, but I don't need you to do that, but I already did it anyway. Which is a fair point. That is a very fair point. She's like, I just need you to be here. I don't need you to go and get a job that means you got to provide for everybody. No, I can do that. I'm more than happy to keep working and do my own job. In fact, well, she didn't say this, but in fact, if I've got a job, you got a job, that means the more money we have together. So I just want you to be here. I've been waiting for you to be here. I want my man to be here. This is why you're here, so we can get married and be together. You know what's crazy though? Why would he think a mother of 3 would want to, who's been single to a mother of 2 for a minute now, would want to put herself in a position where she's going to find a man that isn't going to be there when that's the life that she's been living this whole time. This whole time that she's been a single mom, she's been living a life of just herself and the boys. If she's going to want a man in her life, she's more likely going to want a man in life that's actually going to be there, not a man that's just going to appear when and so because of work or whatever BS.
Be with us. Don't waste my time. Don't do it.
And she's got a fair point. She said no lies. Make your mind up. What do you want? Do you want the family life with me and our kids and me and our kid and my kids? Or do you want the life of being a bachelor or whatever the hell it is on these cruise ships? Pick your poison. I can't even disagree. But nonetheless though, let's move on to the next couple. Now I know you're still here, which means you obviously want to subscribe. And you also want to like the video. So do the damn thing. Come on now. Don't be here and not do nothing. Let's continue.
Brenda.
Her name is Brenda?
It's in her ID.
The maddest part about it is that when he said that it's on her ID, I was like, so why have they not seen her ID? You know? Baffling. Especially given the fact that they are in this conversation about it getting divorced so they can marry her. So, But at the same time, the Brenda doesn't sound like a name you can name a Brazilian. Maybe I'm stereotyping, but it just doesn't sound like it. But hey.
That makes it more complicated.
We have to divorce to marry this woman, by the way.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yes, and this is why I'm meeting here with you,
Oh.
because I need to get answers.
The way this guy's like, oh, is that how it works? I mean, I'm confused what he's actually confused about. Is he confused about the fact that they're looking to get married or basically what she just said? Either way, though, a lot of things are not adding up.
Been fun with this couple and... Okay, so maybe...
Is she still married?
Yeah, or the paperwork. She's not... The divorce hasn't been set.
So of course, she's going for a separation, just that the divorce itself hasn't obviously been finalized. Which obviously means that technically speaking, Matt can't marry her. Well, he's not supposed to be able to, at least anyway.
Still married, there's some
She
complications
said
with...
she told you she's still married.
The divorce hasn't been set.
That makes sense. That
So...
You're here talking about a divorce, and she hasn't had her own divorce yet.
There's not much to really say, is there, when it comes to this couple, obviously, per this episode, because this episode here was, for them, was just a waste of time, because last week they teased that Anna was going to be invited, and they were going to have a conversation about her being called Brenda, but instead they left that until literally the last minute and left on the same cliffhanger of what they left last week on the preview of Anna turning up, and she's like, hey, Brenda, and then boom, it just cuts off. Like, honestly, why they do this is ridiculous. But nonetheless, though, I guess we have to wait until next week for a bit more context around the situation. Obviously, in the preview, it shows Anna crying and saying that I didn't protect myself. To protect herself from what? I guess is what we're about to find out. Now, here's the thing, though. This dude right here, it did say that he met her in a strip club. Now, of course, in many strip clubs, from my understanding, a lot of women don't use their actual name. They use a cover-up name or whatever name for someone to know them has for that work, right? So there's a chance that maybe she is called Brenda in her line of work. But either way, though, it still doesn't make sense why he would think her name is legit Brenda and not Anna. And not Annie. So there's a lot of things here that's, yeah, definitely needs filling. But I would like to get your thoughts. So what do you think is actually going to be the spinners? What do you think is actually going to happen? You know? And yeah, let me know. But nonetheless, though, let's get cracking into the next couple. And I know you're still here, so like the video and subscribe.
I guess sex is the glue that holds us together, but we also need to be on the same page.
You know, with everything that has happened with these two building up to this event where they don't even squash the beef, they just end up having intimacy instead. And then she has the audacity to say that's not going to fix anything is BS. Because if that was the case, then... Wait, has her nostrils got smaller? Is that just me? Damn, girls having way too much work done. Anyway, let's get back into the point. You know what, let me just play some more of this point because that nostril had me distracted.
I worry that it will always be something, that once he corrects one thing, something else will pop up. But if Sarper doesn't improve on the things that he promised to today.
You know what's funny? That when she says that, it sounds as if or feels as if she's always fishing for something for him to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, She's never really got that hope that this man's ever going to do anything right consistently. She's always expecting him to mess up at some point, which is far from healthy.
I don't know if I would marry him.
Good to see you. What's up, baby? How are you? Thanks for the invite, Josh.
You can't just walk away. He's here to support you.
How do you invite a man that you know your man doesn't like and you know he doesn't like your man? First of all, how do you do that? That shouldn't have even happened. The fact that it happened is just nasty work itself alone. But it happened. And then she also does say, babe, you can't just walk away, came to support you. How do you know he's here to support him? Nah, I ain't hearing none of that. This guy's here to see what stupidity Sarpa's up to now and how he can use that against him. The guy always looks for few to use against Sarpa. That's just the grand scheme of it. But in this one, Sarpa ends up actually, giving the guy easy ammo.
Yeah, please laugh loud.
I don't know if I'm gonna laugh, but let's see if he's good enough.
What is then?
Imagine asking him to laugh loud. Like, why are you trying to force a relationship between two people that don't like each other? Trust me, when two men don't like each other, don't try force it. It's the same as two women don't like each other, don't try force it. It's just that simple.
Why?
He's one of
I know
the
in
friends.
his friends group, but double my stress,
I'm all sexually healthy and attractive men, okay? Even you then. Just imagine. I know it's hard, but just imagine. Okay, let's say once in a month we need it.
Oh my God. I'm so embarrassed.
Performance I've ever seen.
You did great.
I mean, was Sarpa wise for taking a low blow against Dan? I'm going to say no, because he's obviously allowing Dan to know that he's living rent-free in his head. You know what I mean? Now, of course, if they were on friendship levels, banter levels, different conversation, but they're not. They are in a situation that each time Sarpa sees Dan, Dan is always talking the most. So therefore, if Sarpa has the audacity to then talk about him, then that means that Dan is doing his job right, and that is living rent-free in Sarpa's head. And Sarpa realistically should not allow Dan to know that he's living rent-free in his head. He should know that Dan doesn't actually bother him in any kind of shape or form. But sadly, he's actually allowed him to really know this. So that was pretty much a lame-ass move by Sarpa there. And to be honest, for somebody that claims to be an alpha man, no alpha man would have done that. Simple as that. Only men that are clowns and allow themselves to be drawn in by stupidity would do that kind of stuff. And this is where Sarpa, obviously, in this situation, created a problem with his own with Dan. If I was him personally, I would just ignore Dan. I would pretend as if Dan doesn't exist. But what happens next? Crazy work.
What do you think?
Why did you take it so far when it came to the joke about Dan?
I didn't plan that, babe.
You did not.
No, I didn't plan that.
Yes.
You know the maddest thing is about this situation? If the roles were reversed, yeah.
One of my friends.
I love your friend group, except him.
You can't squeeze him out of my friend group.
You can't squeeze him after your friend group. Do you know what's so funny? She squeezed female clients from his clientele in Turkey. Didn't allow him to PT female clients. But yet she wants to sit there and say that you can't squeeze my friends out of my friend group. You squeeze business money out of his pocket. Whether the two are the same doesn't really matter. It's just the fact is it shows that her energy is very different. It's very hypocritical. She sees it one way. I hope you guys can't hear those sirens that went past, because I know I can. And they're very loud. Nonetheless, though, the matter of fact is, though, she's been a massive hypocrite here, because if the roles were reversed, she would not allow this man to be around a woman in any shape or form that he didn't like. And to make it worse, in this situation, she's actually had a physical touch with Dan in the past. Obviously, right now it's been reported as a kiss. Dan claims in the next week's episode that it may be more than that, but either way, though, she's gone on a date with him, and she's also obviously, locked lips with him. Sarpa at the time hadn't evolved. It was never shown on screen or anything like that. He had ever had any sexual kind of connection or contact with the woman that he was PT in that very first episode that we saw them together. But she kind of still had her say. She still said, no, this woman needs to go. So the matter of fact that she's now in a position where she's been a massive hypocrite, complaining about, trying to force him to continue spending time with a guy that she actually did get physically, she actually went on a date with, and a guy that has said multiple times that he wants her, and she's expecting her man to just roll over for it, is nasty to her. But then this shows you what? Shows you the kind of softy that Sarpa is. Some may say a simp. I don't know what name there is for a guy like him, but I can tell you this now. He claims to be a bad boy. He claims to be a man that's an alpha. He's clearly not, because at the end of the day, nobody will claim to be that would put themselves in a position where they would allow this to happen. At the end of the day, if I was in this position myself in particular, and I ain't claiming to be a Bible and Alpha either, I just know who I am as a person, and I don't really care for labels. Labels are lame to me. But nonetheless, though, the matter of fact is, if I'm in this situation here and I'm with somebody, and all of a sudden I'm with my girl, and all of a sudden now she's got a friend, you know, who she's beefing with, and also has the audacity to try and call me out whenever around. It's a very simple situation for me personally. I'm going to voice how I feel about it, and whatever she decides to do will determine whether or not I'm staying or I'm leaving. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to stick around in a position where I feel like I'm being emasculated, whereas I feel like, you know, my thoughts don't matter, especially if I know that if the roles were reversed, it'll be a whole freaking problem. You see what I'm saying? But that's just me. Right, well, with that being said, let's crack on to the next and final one. But you know what I'm going to say next, right? You're still here, which means you want to like the video, you want to subscribe. Otherwise, why are you still here?
I'm just concerned about my friend getting into a married life with an American girl he barely knows. He bothers
Why does it matter that she's American, though?
you with her painting naked girls. But
Just keep it between us. I have a feeling that she's interested in the same sex also.
the ground that we come from, it's taboo, right?
It's interesting because the key thing he said there is that where we come from. But guess what? You're not where you come from anymore. And he's not with a woman that's where you come from. Let's say, for example, you're in America and you find a woman from Iran who still follows the traditions or whatever, then different conversation. But you're not. You're here with an American woman. So therefore, you're going to have to adapt or accept X, Y, Z.
Yeah, exactly.
We're surprised, but I'm more worried about after.
What do you mean?
What if after you get married, you just find out more about her past, more
You know what the interesting thing about this part here is the fact that he doesn't actually listen to what his friend says. But we'll get into that.
about what she likes, more about what she likes or doesn't like, that bothers you.
Saeed just confirmed my every thought. Like, I'm not crazy. This situation is crazy.
It didn't confirm your actual thought, but this is what he was actually saying. He's saying to you that if you are going to have an issue right now with her painting pictures of another woman, and you have issues with her being potentially bisexual, what if she tells you whatever you want to hear, you still marry her, but then you find out other things about her past? Are you always going to allow things from her past to bother you? That is the question, because at the end of the day, she's going to potentially have other things in her past that you may deem to seem offensive. Okay? So you got a choice. It's either you marry the woman because you want to marry her for who you know her to be and how you met her, or you don't marry her because you're afraid that she's going to tell you more and more and more things. But the grand scheme is that Mada is 26 years of age. He's dating a woman that is 37 years of age. Now, bear that in mind, because she's 37, she's going to have some form of a past. Now, that does not indicate that her past is going to be a gruesome or disgusting or a dirty one. Nothing like. It could be nothing but positivity, because remember, this is a woman that's already a mother to kids. So therefore, she may have been in a long-term relationship for years anyway. She may have been with the baby daddy since she was in high school, for goodness sake. You see what I'm saying? And maybe they only broke up a few years back. You know what I mean? So, but the matter of fact is, though, what if he hears that when she was in high school that she kissed a couple of girls, or when she was single for a little bit, she went on a few dates with the different guys or whatever, okay? Because there's a chance that she's gonna have that. End of the day, everybody's always gonna have, a history. It doesn't have to be bad, a history, right? Especially the older we get, the more likely we're gonna have more history behind us. So the question is, are you always going to allow things that she has done in the past to bother you? Because realistically, he should be focused on what the future holds, not what the past has done. And obviously, I understand that sometimes there are certain things people have done in the past that, can be a bit unforgivable or whatever it could be. But that's not. But it's not that deep to that point. It's just a general past. But he's not listening.
Super guilty that I'm telling you this, and I just wish that you don't see any differently about her.
The fact that he says that and then follows up.
The moment that I saw Saeed meeting Stevie, I really regretted asking for advice, because you do, like, you could have not said.
Yeah, yada 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 yada. So literally, you've gone to your friend, you paint a whole horrible picture of the woman that you're about to marry, and now you're worried that your friend's gonna see in a different light. Marty is like, he's either one or two things. Either one, very 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 immature, or he's a master manipulator, or he's just both. Easily both. Now I say that he could be immature because the fact that he talks and then he talks and then thinks after is, in my opinion, a very immature trait to have. But the fact that he does know what he's saying, he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's doing it on purpose because he's trying to get his friend to grow her for him, which is manipulative. And I've noticed a pattern with this guy. He's always got something negative to say about Stevie in every single episode. There's always something to complain about. Well, first it was actually about just being in America. He was complaining about just the differences of America. Sometimes a little bit positive, but most of the time it was a complaint. So far, he was talking about going back home already. Fast forward, he even went on a freaking on a day out with her dad to this monster race truck thing. The guy was standing there saying, "Well, if I was in my 60s, I wouldn't be actually at these kind of events." Literally insulting her dad. The guy literally loves to complain and insult. Fast forward, he's been stuck on this whole bisexual thing for weeks now. Now I get it. She did not just say, "Yes, I am." Completely get it, but we're still talking about it. So much to the point that he's now gone to his friend to tell his friend about it. Then tells us, "Oh, now I'm worried that I've painted a bad picture about her." When he knows full well that his friend's now going to go and speak to her on his own accord because he says that I knew my friend was going to understand me because he wanted his friend to understand. He needed his friend to understand him because he knew if he could do that, his friend was then going to go off and speak his gums to Phoebe. And now he wants to sit there on camera and pretend as if he didn't know that this is going to happen. So he's either immature or he's manipulative. I'm going to say he's both. Yep.
Anything, and Saeed would have had a really better mindset about Stevie.
He's my friend, and my concern is that I don't want to see him get hurt. Do you really think that you care enough about his concerns? And
the way he came in, do you really think he cared up for the concerns? Is nasty work, not gonna lie to you. Like, bro, who are you? Like, she just met you and this is what you're asking her? Crazy work.
And everything that he is dealing with these days, or
You think that?
Matthew has left everything behind?
Yeah.
He's here with you? Honestly, I don't see any,
You know, when it comes to sacrifice, I feel like these conversations most of the time on the show isn't even said in the right way. Like, first and foremost, to be honest with you, does it actually always matter who's made more sacrifices or who's made bigger sacrifices? Does it really always matter? Sometimes it matters depending on the context, but sometimes it doesn't actually matter because sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Marty decided to connect with a woman internationally. In that conversation, they decided that he was going to come to the States. That was a choice they made. So any sacrifices that he makes from that moment forward really and truly should not determine the fact that maybe she should be more lenient on him or be whatever. No, because he's the one that made the choice to say, yes, I agree, I should move to you rather than you move to me. But don't get me wrong, sometimes people can make a sacrifice like that and the person who they're making it for can take the piss out of them. That is a thing. In that situation, it matters. Like I said before, context matters. In this situation, context ain't that deep. Especially given the fact that he's complained every single time he's been on camera.
so much sacrifice on your side. So
Maddie has sacrificed a lot to be with me, but so have I. Because I don't really let people close to me ever. I'm being selfish and telling me that Maddie has made more sacrifices than me. And I'm trying to be as kind as possible to see what
I wouldn't even waste your time.
Maddie has said about me to make him feel this way.
I do like that though. I do like the fact that she's identified that, hold it a minute, I know you don't know me, you just met me, but you're saying all these things. I know this is coming from somewhere. So I like the fact that she knows that the frustrations actually isn't with Marty's friend, it's actually with him because he's the one that's gone and opened his mouth and said XYZ about her to him. So I like the fact that she identified that, just what I'm saying, because it would have been bad if these two ended up going back and forth because really and truly, this guy was coming in strong. She could have really started being defensive and really started defending her corner. But instead of doing that, she was just like, I'm going to say what I got to say here and there, but my real beef isn't with you. It's with the person it's with the messenger, basically. And I've got to really decide if I want to marry somebody that has the audacity to go off and tell his friends about me in a negative way. So before I've even met them, they really don't like me. Which is a horrible thing to do, and no man's man would ever do that. Thank gosh he's never sat there and declared himself to be a man's man the way Sarpa does. Well, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section and we'll talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, peace.